Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 is the manliest game ever seen in our lifetime. This game's existence alone has already boosted global testosterone levels by a whole 2 points. That's right, this game turns liberals into real men. Asmongold looked at this game and suddenly he finally hit puberty. This game is gonna make your dad stop his obsessive urges with wanting to slop on cock. It is gonna be amazing.
Today, I'm excited to be talking about Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2.
You should be.
Now, this is the follow-up to the 2011 Space Marine game, as well as just the next entry in a
Oh, look at this. This is what I love about Warhammer, by the way. The aesthetic, the architecture. None of that modern day absolute slop fiesta loser crap, okay? No soft walls and just one window and someone saying, it's amazing, because none of that. Actual good, beautiful looking architecture. Oh, this is so beautiful. It cannot be said enough. Modern day architects deserve the tree branch, the tree everything, and rope. They do.
Slew of games set in the Warhammer 40K universe. There's a lot of them. There's like a kart racer now. They have everything. Full transparency though, I am not a Warhammer guy or a Warhammer 40K person. I know very little about it, but I was a big fan of
Sad, but expected.
Of the previous game, like the original Space Marine game. And what I'll say now after playing this game is that I am all in now, and I want to be a Warhammer fan.
As you should be. I mean, look at this.
This game is a blast. Space Marine 2 is what video games should be. It's like the complete package here. You just buy it, and it's good, clean, simple fun with action and spectacle, with a side helping of some good multiplayer, too. Just so you know, I've been playing a review copy, and this footage was captured running on PC. And it's also spoiler-free, so you're good. Now,
okay, I'm not gonna lie, that was the most pathetic explosion I have ever seen in my life, and no one can convince me otherwise. That was not it, Chief.
Starting with the campaign, Space Marine 2 picks up many, many years after the events of the first game. Now, without spoiling anything really, Dimitri...
So literally nothing has changed, huh? Because, yeah, that's kind of how Warhammer works. Nothing really changes too much.
And Titus is once again brought into action to now help fight against the Tyranid alien threat. Although conspiracy looms its head pretty early on, and there's much bigger things afoot. You are a Space Marine.
As there always are, by the way.
This big, brutish, armored fighter just bred for war. And you're a big, chunky boy. You stomp your way through levels, you're smashing enemies in the face with your chain.
Oh, Lictor.
Saw a sword, or gunning them down with like heavy bolt guns. So think of kind of like the heavy, weighty, chunky broiness of Gears of War, but without a cover system, because you're a walking tank. You're a brute, you kill shit, and it's pretty awesome. But there is some level of thinking to the combat. You know, you have armor that deteriorates first before your health meter. So to get armor back, you have to do finishing moves on enemies. Now, melee is good for hacking
just go through them like butter, it's beautiful.
Away at the swarms and swarms of these smaller enemies around you, but ranged weapons and grenades are your friend for dealing with.
Also, bro, I love this so much. This, I think, is one of the greatest shows of when games or stories or movies or whatever just hit the mark and they are good, okay? You can have situations like this. These guys are actually in the lore. They're real, okay? They're not just random guys who look like you and they explode into confetti, okay? They do, but there's a reason in the lore why it happens. But people who don't know anything about this, they can play this game and then they can kill these guys and they explode into confetti, and then and people who don't know why or what the hell is going on here are like, okay, I'll just accept this. This is fine, okay? This is what we do in good games. We just accept things, we don't question them. In bad games, when you're typically playing, what happens? You're constantly, like, looking at things and saying, this is in the wrong place, this is stupid, why is this like that? Why is the flashlight not in the tool shed? Why, God, why? Because those are bad games. In good games, in good stories, in good everything, you don't question anything because you just understand it is what it is.
bigger enemies or tougher threats. So there's like a dodge roll, you can dodge roll, do all that. There's a parry. The parry window is pretty generous, and it's good for making a bigger enemy vulnerable, sometimes open to a very stylish, very cool instant quick pistol shot, or the parry will just instantly kill a smaller enemy. And the clever thought behind little moments in the game go a long way here, and like where I think the game is really cool. So like say a smaller enemy jumps at you and you are free to then parry this attack, but because you're a space marine, like this is a space marine we're dealing with here, you just catch the enemy by the throat midair and smash it into the ground. It's these little
That's as it should be.
integrations and bits of charm added into a straightforward third-person shooting action game that make it feel unique. You know, it really goes for the big sci-fi power armor fantasy. Movement is slower than your average third-person character, you know.
You know what this game actually needs? It needs segments where you're just going with multiple other people, advancing, and you're just firing nonstop. Pew, 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 pew. That would be so cool.
Titus is no Nathan Drake, but movement isn't slow in an annoying way. Controls are still tight, and you feel in control and efficient. Every melee weapon is a little bit different, you know, from a faster big knife to a massive hammer, and they all have little combos and things you can pull off. Ranged weapons have a really good, distinct, heavy, like, feel to them. And
nice.
the further into the campaign, the more you get exposed to different weapons that have a different feel to them or different variation or use case that shakes things up pretty well. Also, although I played this on PC, I did play a lot of it with a DualSense controller, and the DualSense integration here is pretty good. And the campaign is able to be played solo or cooperatively. And because of this, you always have two squad members by your side, whether they're your friends or AI controlled. This gives the game, again, like a distinctly Gears of War-ish feel, where you have your war buddies with you at all times, you get to know them, and the game often hits you with like checkpoints where you need to regroup and then hit a button to open a door to the next area. So structurally, that does get a little predictable after a while, but what is fresh...
Well, yeah, structurally and gameplay-wise, things are going to get repetitive because, well, you can't have 1 hour of this, the second of that, the third of that, and things like that. Yeah, things are going to get repetitive. But it's that how good the gameplay is that doesn't let this tediousness, repetitive nature actually be a bad thing.
And surprising is just the level of chaos and creativity that goes down here. You're often in like staggeringly massive looking areas, watching hordes of enemies swarm their way towards you. If you've played the developer's previous game, World War Z, which I actually thought was a little underrated, it had some good ideas, or maybe you played that third-person Alien shooter, Alien Fireteam Elite from like 2-3 years ago, you know what to expect here.
No idea.
Be ready to move! Way is clear. Proceed.
Oh, God. That's so good.
Reloading weapon.
The game equips you and empowers you to just blow away these endless hordes of enemies, and it can be thrilling and challenging when you get overwhelmed too. Thankfully, there are multiple difficulty modes as well. So enemies are exploding as they like pile in like waves, blood and guts and particle effects are everywhere, but I'll be frank here with one of my few negatives of the game. About halfway through the campaign, the gameplay loop of shoot, dodge, parry, explode, finisher, that it gets a little bit repetitive. It feels a bit rinse and repeat. Thankfully,
Yeah, it is rinse and repeat. There's no question about that. But as long as it's fun, it's fine. Every game has, like, every game's core mechanics are extremely rinse and repeat.
structurally, the game's campaign is
And
paced
as long as they're good enough, you don't care.
really well. With, like I said, good new weapon placement throughout the game, as well as creative scenario change-ups. You know, 1 second, you're creeping through a pitch black hallway filled with monsters and blood. Seconds later, you're on a massive battlefield watching multiple enemy forces duking it out in real time, buildings falling down, ships in the sky, tracer fire. There's just absolutely incredible video game magic
Very
here.
cool.
So while you're often doing the same simple killing, There's sometimes like a boss to mix things up, or a push uphill, or you get a jetpack for a bit, or there's like a whole long range sniper sequence or a scary sequence. It is paced very well. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up about a little bit of that, like, you know, base level gameplay loop repetition. Now, I just want more, like a longer campaign, more enemy types, more sequences, more to do. Still, I did feel like this was a decently full meal of a campaign. You know, the story is a bit hard to follow, but I'd say you don't need to be a Warhammer expert at all. Like I said,
No, no, who cares even about the story in this situation? You're a big, chunky, humongous dude, bro, and now you're killing a lot of smaller things. It just makes sense.
I'm not, but just be sure to make yourself familiar with the events of the previous game, because a lot of key moments connect and are important. You can play it in a bubble here and get by and understand what happened in the last game just through playing.
Hell yeah,
it's kind of told to you,
this.
but it's much better if you played the original. Or
Dude, again, how cool would it be a situation where you're actually holding the line and you're supposed to push forward, and there's just a bunch of bolted fire, okay? There's a bunch of Smurfs running around, okay? Well, not running around, slowly advancing, you know? And there's just literal hordes of Tyranids, and you just need to bolt at them. Oh, that would be so good. I want that in my life, okay?
at least watch a YouTube recap or something. Trust me on this. The campaign took me just about almost 10 hours, which I know doesn't sound like a lot. In its defense, it doesn't overstay its welcome, and like I had said before, it's paced really well. So if you loved big, bombastic, goofy single-player campaigns from the Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 era, this is the game for you. And the 10 hours, in my opinion, didn't really hurt my experience because the game also offers multiplayer that, like, I actually wanted to play. Instead of a shoehorned multiplayer mode, like, the developers here offer a really good experience.
Wait, I'm supposed to defeat a Chaos Sorcerer? That's not happening, you're just a normal Marine!
It feels primed for way more in the future, but, like, not in a cynical way. At any time during your campaign, like back at your hub ship, you can walk over to a computer terminal and switch over to two multiplayer modes. There's Operations, which is PvE, and Eternal War, which is PvP. The Eternal War PvP I wasn't able to access because servers weren't live. Now, personally, I'm not the most competitive person, so I may not be the best judge on it anyway, but still, the jury is still out on this mode and how it will shake out over time. As of right now, there are 3 different game types. I was able to see at least how it all works, though, like character classes, progression, stuff like that, which also works similarly for the PvE stuff, Operations. These, as of right now, offer 6 big, lengthy missions that you jump into with quick matchmaking or with friends with an invite.
High-ranking Chaos Knight eliminated.
Nice.
And there's also going to be
Pretty good, but they should have some kind of, I don't know, leap-in ranged execution thing that makes this feel better, though. But again, minor nitpicking, because, I mean, the game's still good anyway. Might as well nitpick it a little bit.
crossplay, which is impressive and very nice. Good thinking here.
Oh, by the way, I'm so absolutely happy that this game is phenomenal, and that there's, you know, no female custodies or any garbage like that. Games Workshop, you bigots. In any case, yeah, when I first saw Space Marine 2, I was actually pretty worried, because the first thing that I saw about Space Marine, I don't know if this was in general the first thing that they released, but man, the gameplay was bad, okay? It was, yeah, you had a cinematic tank and something like that, a horde of Tyranids, but you couldn't interact with it, you couldn't do anything with it, and the gameplay that they showed was in the jungle, and there was like 2 or 3 enemies at a time. It looked so bad. You can see that video, by the way. But initially I saw this, I was very fearful that this is gonna be a literal meh thing or complete garbage, because it looked like that. It just flat out did. Oh my, I'm so happy this turned out to be great.
Here. Now, these operations are actually connected to the main campaign story. So you're often like the B team on the same battlefield, tasked with a different objective. You hear about it quite a bit throughout the campaign. Now, I've jumped into quite a few of these operations bits with friends and had a good time running and gunning, placing bombs, and completing missions. More of these are apparently in the works to be added over time for free, allegedly, which is something I really appreciate. It's good, fun, semi-mindless shooting and blasting with friends, and it can just be a really, really good, fun co-op time. Now, what really helps it out are the different classes available for most modes. This helps really shake up what I talked about in the single player with kind of like that a little bit repetitive gameplay loop. Here, you can choose a standard guy, a kind of
Hell yeah, look at this. Beautiful.
recon guy, a sniper, like a tactician, a shield guy, a super heavy.
Honestly, if one thing that never made sense to me is the idea that Space Marines are assassins. Well, not assassins, but sniper. It doesn't really make that much sense in my eyes, but it's okay.
Shield guy, a super heavy. They all offer a lot more variability with their own special ultimate attacks and just a bit of a different feel. I often went for the heavy gunner a lot of the time because it's a good change of pace. He's even chunkier and slower with a big, powerful minigun and just really, really cool looking armor. And that's where the progression stuff comes in. You can rank and level up, and there's like a full suite of customization for your armor. Think colors, pauldrons, greaves, chest pieces, helmets, icons you can put on things, or just full sets that really flex the fashion and design of the Ultramarines. Like, holy crap, they look insane. This player expression is good, and a lot of it is tied to a kind of progression tree for unlocks. There's also weapon mastery to level through as well. Just a lot of stuff to check.
It seems all the execution here is just ripping off the helmet. Not that great, though.
And keep busy for multiplayer completionists. A surprising amount, really, considering, like I said, just like 3 PvP game modes right now, and 6.
Wait, I love how it's so visible here that you're a Space Marine, and you're literally the equivalent of a human tank. Yet you don't feel slow.
Operations style co-op missions. It's a lot, and it's where I hope the game continues to grow over time. It feels like the foundation is in place, the unlocks, the progression, the customization, and now I just want more to play through, and I'm happy to wait. As of right now,
Alt, by the way, his teammate's name was 10 out of 10, obviously.
There's also no in-game shop or microtransactions. Switching gears a bit, the game also looks absolutely fantastic. Like, on the one hand, yes, their graphics are very good. The tech on display here, the amount of enemies on screen, the particle effects, the lighting, the colors, all of it looks great. Now, later on in the game, the campaign really goes like cuckoo bananas mode with the amount of crazy things going on screen at once, and your
As it should, because it's Warhammer.
game might struggle a bit with that. Otherwise, I had a really smooth experience with only one crash when I was changing settings. It was pretty good. Character faces are a little bit lifeless sometimes, but
They're Space Marines, it's supposed to be like that. They are literally all now mentally autistic. And by the way, lore-wise, that makes no fucking sense in my opinion. Okay? How is every Space Marine a social retard? When they are made from normal average humans, and they suddenly lose the concept of what is small talk.
Otherwise, that's really my only complaint. It's the art department, like the visual style and design and music that really comes together and crushes here. This game is a gateway drug to the wide world of Warhammer. Like I said at the start, after this game, I am fully all in.
Ooh,
the
very
glimpses
cool.
of wider lore in the game, the alien races, the different factions of men, the Imperium and the Emperor, and all of it is just really, really interesting. And even more so when it's steeped in like this absolutely gorgeous, creative, I don't know, grim dark design. Skulls, candles, cathedrals, and religious imagery mixed with authoritarian space empire capital ships and robots lights and wires and fuzzy old school computer screens and lasers. It's all just really like unlike anything I've experienced before. And the game, again, left me curious. And
Completely worth it. Yeah, a lot of people. Every time Warhammer makes a splash, people are like, "Oh my god, I want to know more about this world." How does it die down? Because every time something big Warhammer happens, there's like a new flood of people that want to know about the lore, the everything, and all of that good stuff. But it dies down. I just don't get it. Maybe it's too much. In any case, that was Game Rex. Bye bye.